Lately I'm into cults. Well, no, not literally, but I am reading a book about cults and cult language, and it got me thinking about how we use modern day cult language a lot in society. But this video is going to be in particular about spiritual influencers and how we're kind of erring on the side of dangerous territory by some of the buzzwords or things that we say. Sit tight. Welcome back to another video. My name is Jen Palco. So today we're going to talk about language and how modern day spiritual influencers are kind of sometimes erring on the side of cult language, in that even if it's coming from a place of love, they're still creating this us versus them mentality, which at first may not do any harm, but over time it can lead to this path of the same mentality that we've had for years, whether it's religious cults, whether it's political cults, whether it's fitness cults, whatever it is. There's a lot of language that we use that can really have an emotional impact on somebody. And I'm going to use first the example of chosen ones. Chosen ones. Now we know throughout history, if you've read up on cults, throughout time, there's always this idea that the people in the cult are elite in some way, or they're special, or they're better than somebody else. And we've seen this in groups. There's a lot of gray areas here, throughout time. But in modern day, I feel like I'm watching some of these new age or spiritual videos, and it's kind of like the same thing, but it's like you don't realize it, or you don't think about it that it's exactly the same thing that's been kind of going on throughout history. So I'll use the example, like I said, of chosen ones. And I see a lot of videos online right now talking to chosen ones. Now, this could be referring to somebody who's had a spiritual awakening, somebody who is the black sheep, an outcast, feels kind of like they don't belong in the world. They've gone through some kind of self-transformation. And now they feel like people around them are still asleep at the wheel. They want to think for themselves, right? Nothing wrong with that. And coming from a place of self-love and wanting the best for humanity. Now, one influencer in particular, Infinite Waters, talks about this a lot. There was a recent video he put up and about talking to chosen ones. And while Ralph Smart, aka Infinite Waters, is coming from a place of love, sometimes this language can get to a point where, okay, if you're watching the video, how do I know if I'm a chosen one? Even if you mean we're all chosen ones, it's still creating this level or this degree of dangerous us versus them mentality over time, because what somebody who has gone through, say, a spiritual awakening will realize over time, they may start to kind of not like humanity. And maybe we don't like humanity anyway, but it creates this dangerous mental attitude that I'm more special, or I have a gift, or I have something, that I am chosen in some way to either help humanity, or that I'm supposed to go through certain life lessons. It's even coming from a place of love. It's still kind of the same thing, but in a different box, right? Disguised as a sort of love, because over time what can happen is having this mentality creates, and the algorithm feeds us more and more of this stuff. Just repeating certain buzz phrases, for example, can create this idea of more separation, more division in life. So you may not like what I have to say here, and I'm not harping on people like Infinite Waters or Teal Swan. I know has gotten a lot of flack in the past for saying suicide is the reset button, or something like along those lines, which can be dangerous language. But just a couple examples, from Ralph Smart's one of his videos, he used the terms or kind of buzzwords, we've all been plagued. And he has a way with words, I'll just say like that. And he is coming from a place of his heart, I believe, but it's still, if the message is getting to the wrong kind of in a twisted fashion, it can lead to this dangerous kind of cult language, us versus them mentality. So one of the buzzwords, we've all been plagued, you've been divided, a new earth is being created. A lot of spiritual influencers talk about a new earth, even though throughout history, they've kind of been talking about a new earth for a long time, for hundreds of years. So have we just been getting new earths every so often? It's just a cycle, it's repeating itself? Maybe, I don't know. Let's see. The Great Awakening, the shifting on the planet. At one point he said, I told you. So these are kind of phrases that are on repeat, and they kind of get in the heads of a lot of vulnerable people, I think, or people that can be kind of shifted to think a certain way. Believe me, I'm all about spirituality. I'm all about being your most authentic, connected self. But I think we should really pay attention to how we use some of these buzzwords, and how when we are hating on people who are creating division in the world, that we may be doing the exact same thing, but in a different way. Something disguised as may at first start as love or goodness. We want kindness. We want humanity to get together. But using these buzzwords, creating this idea that we are a chosen one because maybe we've awakened. So in a way, it creates a God complex, or that we're part of some secret society that others aren't a part of. The language that we speak, or the things that we hear or watch or expose ourselves to, can start to form an identity, or we start to morph into a different identity where we may not be able to kind of go back to a certain way. For example, say you're a vegan and you have 4 other vegan friends, all 5 of you are happily vegan, and you decide one day, I want to eat meat. My body wants red meat. I feel like I just want it. And you feel like you can't. You feel like you can't eat meat. You feel like you're guilty. You feel like you're going to be condemned. Maybe you eat meat in secret or in private. Nobody knows about it. So this is what I'm talking about. We can start to take an identity, and that's kind of an extreme example, or it may be an extreme example to think that New Age or spiritual influencers have a darkness underneath. I don't think they are meaning to do it, but I think we need to be careful of the language that we're using and the messages that we're sending out, because we can get from a place of authenticity, of self-love, self-empowerment, being a spiritual person, distorted in a sort of way, twisted into a place, again, of us versus them mentality, of I am chosen, I am special. A lot of conspiracy theorists, they like knowing the truth or knowing something special that other people don't know. This is all the same thing, and we've seen this throughout history. So this is just kind of a modern day version of it, I feel. I mean, I'm not going to compare this to like Jonestown, but if you think about it, all those people, it started as a commune, loving place where people took care of each other, and all it took was one person to keep using buzzwords and keep infiltrating people's minds, where it was now a place of, well, I have my own little group here, my own little secret society, my own loving family, and everybody on the outside, I can't associate with it. I don't like, right? There's something wrong with them. They are beneath me. So we're getting into this place of a God complex, whether or not we realize it sometimes, just the thinking. And this leads us to down a road of more hatred in the long run, even if that's not where we started from. Even if we started from a place of love, we have to be careful of the language that we use, of what we're paying attention to, and really, really, look into it. It's something that now we're exposed to information all the time, and a lot of times the information that is put in front of us on, say, social media or YouTube, the things that are suggested to us or recommended to us that we see, we have to pay attention to the fact that that's an algorithm that is driving our mentality a lot of times, our identity a lot of times. Is kind of like people who get in a relationship. Suddenly they start to take on the values and the same beliefs and the identity of their significant other. You've seen couples like that where they just change. They may change what they believe suddenly. They may change how they're dressing, how they act, all kinds of things. So humans are gullible in that way. So self-awareness is the number one thing, I think, because we can be sucked into certain things. The way our brains work, we're very vulnerable to this kind of stuff. We're very vulnerable to fear-based thinking or being driven by anger. And I know I'm getting off track here from what I was originally talking about, which was like spiritual influencers. But I think it's important to realize that sometimes human beings can wake up and ask themselves, how did I get here? How did I get to this place? And sometimes it starts with little things that are meant to do good for humanity, but can turn into something else just because we're living in a technology-driven world, or social media that's driven by advertising, by money making. So there's always kind of like deeper layers to that. So yeah, be your own person, think for yourself, be authentic, be the black sheep by all means, but never get the ego involved where you think that you are this chosen God who is better than anybody else. Once you get to that mentality, you're bordering on dangerous territory when you start hating on everybody else who's not in your circle. Okay, so anyway, that's all I got. So if you enjoy this video, if you resonate with any of the things that I've said, if you've kind of observed this yourself, please let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear your thoughts on this, and hit that like button, subscribe. I put out new videos every single week for you on all kinds of cool topics. And until next time, I'll see you. Peace.